Hello and welcome. I'm Becky Norton with the Spirit of 76 Museum, and I'm here with Jenny Arntz, the director of Main Street Wellington. Jenny and I were talking about what videos we would like to do in the future, and there are still a lot of videos that we could make at the museum, but we got to thinking about our mission statements for each of our organizations. The mission statement for the Wellington Main Street is to promote Wellington, its people, and its local businesses. The mission statement for the Spirit of 76 Museum is to preserve and protect the artifacts that are in our possession, and also to educate people about the history not only of Wellington but of all of southern Lorraine County. So as Jenny and I started thinking about this and talking about what we wanted to do, we thought, well, those two mission statements really go together very, very well. So we decided to go on the road. But we didn't go very far on the road. We just went around the block, and today we are coming to you from Main Street, Wellington. We also decided, as we were talking about things, that the things that are in the museum and the possessions that we have show what people in the old days used or wore, but really the history is made by the people. The people are the ones that are using these things. They are living their everyday lives, and sometimes there are great things that are done. Sometimes there are smaller things, but when all those small things are put together, it amounts to a great thing. And that's what Wellington is all about, is the people that are here and the things that they use. So today we are going to start a little series that we decided to do, and we are going to be talking to some of Wellington's people. Today we have an elder statesman of Wellington, Mr. Bob King. So Bob, you grew up in Wellington.
Yes.
What are some of your memories of Wellington as you were growing up?
Well, first of all, I always had a love affair with Wellington.
Mm-hmm.
I felt it was a great place to live. When I was a kid, I worked in different places around downtown.
What were some of the places that you worked in?
Well, when I was in school, I worked for Brofield's Food Store, and they went across the street from where we are, I think where the bakery is now located.
Mm-hmm.
And the Brumfields had moved to town, and Bill and Ernie were quite young, and my mother babysat them at times, and she did the laundry and so on. And I got a job there, and I worked there after school nights, and then I worked there all in the summertime. Then I went to, we moved up on the corner then where the Bread and Brew is now.
Okay, yes.
Brumfields had the store there. And then I don't know why, but I left there and went to work for Kroger's, where Rite Aid is now.
Yes.
That was an automobile agency, and Kroger's bought that building and turned it into a grocery store. And I worked there, and I was in the media department. And I was we had to belong to a union, so I was a member of the Meat Cutters, Amalgamated Meat Cutters of America. And so I worked there, and then I just thought, well, I'll quit and get another job. And so I gave the boss my notice, and I said, you don't get paid until Saturday. So I went on Saturday to get my paycheck, and the district manager was here. He said, Bob King, we had plans for you, and why are you quitting? I'm just going to look for a different job. Well, we'll blackball you from every chain store meat market in the state of Ohio.
Whoa.
I'm just a kid looking for a job.
Yeah.
Anyway, I went to work for Stacy's Men's Shop, and worked there in probably my junior and senior year in school. Then I got married, and then I went to work for Spitzer Motors in Lorraine for a while, sold cars for about 3 months. And am I rambling on here?
Nope, you're good.
And then we lived on Cortlandt Street in an upstairs apartment, and Leon Jones called me one day and wanted to know if he could talk to me. And I said yes, and so he came down one evening, and he said, there's going to be an opening at the bank. Harold Townsend is the president. He's going to retire, and everybody will be moving up. We're going to have an opening, and we wondered if you'd be interested in working there. And if you are, fill out an application. I said, well, what do you want in the application? We're just saying that you're interested in the job, pretty much. So I did, and then, the bank hired me, and, I was a teller, and, then after a few years, they made me assistant cashier. Back in those days, Wellington Bank was a state, controlled bank, and they, I guess according to the bylaws, every bank had to have 4 officers, president, vice president, cashier, and assistant cashier. So they made me assistant cashier. They didn't give me any more money, but they gave me a title. And, so then, while I worked at the bank, I also did the janitor's work there. I would change my clothes, and I'd mop the floors and wash the windows and clean up the desk and empty the trash. And then I would go to the bank on Wednesdays when they were closed, and I'd give it a more thorough cleaning. And then I'd go back on Sunday and give it a more thorough cleaning. And for doing that, I got $85 a month. And then some people on the fair board asked me if I would be interested in being treasurer of the fair board. And I was always looking for another job, so I said yes. So I became treasurer of the fair board, and I still work at the bank, of course.
Right.
And the treasurer's job at the fair board paid me $400 a year. And so I did that for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. Back then, the fair was only a 5-day fair, Monday through Friday. And, but I worked about 20 hours a day because they had to get the sellers out, the ticket sellers out and stuff.
About what year was that?
That would have probably been about 1955, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. I graduated from high school in 52, so I was in high school a few years. And so while I was doing the janitor work and the bank work and the fair board work, I had a friend in school. His name was Jim Bramer. He was a year behind me in school. And Jim and I decided one year to go to California. So we saved up our money. We had $100 apiece, and he had a car, and we drove to California. We were gone a month, and we had a pup tent. We slept out in the tent and so on, and that was a wonderful experience. We met a lot of nice people. And then when I came back to Wellington, after a while, Mr. Bramer called me and wanted to know if I'd come down and talk to him. I said yes. And went down and he said, well, I'm thinking about retiring. And he said, I've had a lot of chances to sell my business, but I decided that I would pick the person to run my business, and so I picked you. Because of my friendship with his son and his son. So that's how I got into business with Mr. Bramer. And I started there in, I think March, and then he went to Arizona in August or something. And Harrison Comstock was the attorney, and he was very helpful to me during those years. They helped me make good judgments and stuff.
Yes.
But I worked pretty much alone, and back then real estate wasn't very, very active. But the first week I went to work, I sold a house for $3,500, and my commission was $87.50. And I thought, how long has this been going on? I went the whole month at the bank for $85.
Right, yes.
As a janitor. So I went after like a bulldog after a cat. I worked I still stayed at the bank, but I worked after hours at the bank, and I worked every holiday and weekend and so on. Had ulcers, was in the hospital. I was just a man on a mission. And so anyway, then after about a year or two, Mr. Bramer, and he went to Arizona every winter, and he'd come back and he said, I'm not going to be coming back here. He said, well, first of all, I was just a salesman. And he was the broker. And he said, you better get your broker's license. And I said, I'm happy, George, the way things are. I'm the salesman, you're the broker. Well, he said, my health isn't too good. He said, I might croak one of these days, and you'd have to go to work for somebody else. So I went and got my broker's license. And then next year he came back, and we were sitting in the office, and he said, I think I'll just sell out to you. And I said, well, why? You got to send you your share, and I take my share. I'm happy the way things are. Well, he said, I won't be coming back. I'll just sell it to you. And I said, well, what do you want for business? And he looked around and said, well, there's 4 desks and 2 filing cabinets, a check writer, an adding machine. He took an inventory.
Mhm.
And he said, $1,500, and I don't want the money, just pay me $50 a month and I won't charge any interest. Well, he must have a premonition because about 6 months later, he passed away.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And I always said that he was my best friend,
Mhm.
my associate in business,
Right.
and my father, all rolled up into one. My dad had died when I was 10 years old, so
Oh.
I never really had a father.
Mhm.
So he was a wonderful man, and he gave me a great break in life, and I'll always be appreciative of that. So that's kind of how I got into real estate, and then I was in it for 50 years. And
What was it about real estate that you liked so much? Because you tried a lot of different jobs and kept on going, but you've been in real estate for a very long time.
well, I like working with people, and
Mhm.
I like people, and they kind of like me.
Mhm.
You know, I got a good rapport with my customers, and I just did everything I could to make sure that the transaction went as easy as possible.
Mhm.
And I just like helping people buy houses and helping people sell houses.
Mhm.
And Mr. Bringer told me one time, he said, you know, if you do the right thing and you treat people right, don't worry about the money. That will come automatically. And it did.
It did, because growing up, whenever any real estate needed to be bought or sold, you went to Bob King.
Yeah.
Always. And my husband and I bought our first house from you. I don't know if you remember that or not, because that was a very long time
Where
ago.
was it?
Out on Holly Road, just a few houses.
Yes.
Little ranch house.
North 18.
Mhm.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So, yes.
Well, I was the only realtor in town, and there wasn't, you know, there was one in Overland, one in Sullivan, one in New London. And then this area started to grow and blossom. And of course, there got to be more and more competition. And I got to a place where I knew that I couldn't handle it by myself anymore. I had some part-time salesmen working for me. And then my brother worked for me for a while, and then I started putting on more salesmen. And we got a pretty large staff at one time, and so that's kind of the way it went, you know. But in this area, just kind of, one of the things that helped us there was when 480 was
Yes.
continued on to 20, and it came this way, made Cleveland more accessible, and that helped this area grow.
Yes, it did. Well, I want to talk to you about one salesperson in particular, Mrs. Lois Norton.
Yes.
Now, I remember that you were her English student at one time.
Right.
Is that true? So was it very strange?
Well, I don't know, I don't think I was a student,
Okay.
but I was in a class play, and she was the
Oh, it was a
director of the
play.
play. Yeah. I was in the junior class play and the senior class play. In the junior class play, I had the most speaking lines, and in the senior class play, I had one line. But I remember Lois was the teacher, the director of that play, and so, yeah.
Well, I know she always thought a lot of you and was very glad to have the opportunity to be one of your salespeople.
Yeah, well,
She enjoyed doing that.
Yeah, she was a good person, and her and I got along very well.
Yeah, she was a little dynamo, always going on. Well, that brings us to this invention that I have here, that this belongs to Scott Markle, and he said you're attached to it in some way, so would you like to talk about this for a few minutes?
When I was in the real estate business, behind me in that building was a company called Shock Stock. And there was Howard and Cy Mayer, father and son, really a stepfather and son. And they were always kind of inventing things, or that people invent things and bring it to them. They would market it and so on. And one of the things was this thing called registered music. And what you did is they had a plenum of it, or you took a thing and you pasted it on the plenum of your furnace, the high plenum. And then you took a can opener and you cut it off so you could fold the thing inside. And then you screwed this speaker to it. And you attach the speaker to a radio or a photograph or whatever, and then music would come out of the hot air registers. Hence the name Register Music.
Right.
Now, I never mounted anything. I don't think they sold more than 50 of them. Another product they had was a rotary mower blade. It was kind of like a big frisbee, and there was 4 prongs just like out of a swivel. So if it did hit your foot, it wouldn't cut you.
Oh.
And that was a product. Their main product that they had was electric fence transformer.
Okay.
Keep cattle in pastures and so on. And the guy here in Wellington, I think, kind of designed that. And then as it turned out, they had a company in Michigan making theirs and bringing their name out. They shipped those all over the world. And that's since the name Shock Stock. It shocked the stock.
Yes, yes.
So that was their main product, and they did quite well with that. Then Simon, the father, passed away, and then Howard was going to go to Fort Wayne, Indiana, with his brother and Kobe lives. Mayor's Gentleman was retired. He had 2 stores in Fort Wayne, and so as he was leaving, he was friends with Dr. Stone, and he said, "Bob, would you own part of this building?" He said, "I'm going to go to Fort Wayne, but Doc Stone will sell this building. If you want, you and I can buy it." And I said, "Yeah, let's do that." I didn't have money, but let's do it. So, and they already had this company called the Mayor Company, which made these rotary mower things. And so we kept it in that corporation. And then I bought his stock out of the corporation. That's how I became a sole owner. But I kept the name Mayor Company because legally they own it. It was in that name still.
Yes.
But then here again, Howard Mayor was very good to me. I appreciate what he did, gave me an opportunity to participate with him in that building, and I bought him out.
Do you think that younger kids, well, young adults, I should say, in today's time get as many breaks as what I think people got maybe when you were younger, that somebody mentored you or helped you out in some way? Do you think that the kids nowadays get as much help?
It didn't seem like it. One thing I think, and it probably was not that big of a deal, but we were Depression babies. Consequently, the birth rate was low during the Depression years. So as we got of age, our late teens, early 20s, I'm going to say we were kind of a scarce population because we were the recession babies.
Yes, yes.
So there wasn't a lot of us, and we all had opportunities for work, I would say, because there was fewer of us. I was very fortunate to have a Mr. Bramer and Howard Bear and Mr. Brumfield. I got along great with him, and I just had a good chance to have good mentors around me, and I learned a lot from them, and I tried to do a good job for them, and I know I did. I worked hard.
Right.
So anyway, I had some great breaks in that life. I didn't have much of an education. I graduated from high school. I did take classes at Penn College, which is now Cleveland State, and economics and different classes. And then when I was at the bank, I took classes in banking. And so that was my additional education. And then when I was in real estate, I sought certain destinations. I'm a CRB, a Certified Residential Broker, a CRM, Certified Residential Manager, I guess, GRI. So I had different destinations, and those I went to school for and obtained those.
And all specific to the real estate business.
Yes.
But I would imagine that your banking and those classes that you took in finance and so on helped you out in your real estate business.
It did, it did. It's bound to,
Well, in the banking, very much so.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any advice for Wellington or what you would like to see happen in the village.
Well, you know, it's kind of sad, when I look around, when I was young, the downtown area was completely different. Almost every storefront was filled up, you know, there was, this, of course, was a drugstore. There was 3 men's shops, 2 shoe stores, 3 or 4 little grocery stores downtown here. And I remember where the hardware store is now, Wellington, or Farm Home Hardware. There was 3 houses there. Doc Foss had a clinic in one of the houses. In fact, I was born there. And next door, Doc Dickinson had not Dickinson, he was an optometrist, Wilkinson. And then there's a small house in Mrs. Royce lived in, and then the old building is still there. So that's all changed. But Wellington, like so many small towns, has lost its businesses. You know, you look around now, and there's beauty shops, attorneys' offices, buildings, occupiers like this. You know, we don't have as many bars as we used to. I used to tell people when they came to Wellington to look for housing, I said, no, we have a lot of bars and a lot of churches.
Yes, that's true.
And we did. And since the bars have gone down, and we still have a lot of churches.
Yes.
But there's no way that the downtown area is ever going to come back. I mean, we've suffered their loss of business, but it seems like lately there's more interest in downtown. The microbrewery, I guess, is going to open up, the Mexican restaurant down the street. There's a couple retail places. I like to see that.
Yes.
I hope they make it, but it'd be a big risk, you know, because there's not that much activity downtown. Main Street Wellington does a good job creating activity and interest, and so that's good. But I remember when where Brumfield's, where the village market is now, was just a couple big old houses on large lots.
Yes.
I mean, my brother mowed lawn out there at one time. I think a lady by the name of Mrs. Stevenson on the main property there that Brumfield bought. And so anyway, and when the grocery stores moved out of downtown, that took the business away from downtown.
Yes, I think now with all the online shopping, even big stores in big cities are starting to suffer, and I don't know where that's, I guess it's just the changing times. But
like I said, we had 3 clothing stores in one at one time. And Powers and Dollar was a very nice store in Overland. And then when the department stores came in and the men's departments, we just took all that business away.
Yes. I always, when I look at the pictures of Wellington in the early 1900s, I always say I'd like to go back in time and see it when there were just all kinds of stores and people, and when you see the pictures, it's just amazing to see what it was. It was a big deal.
Yeah, when I was really young, we lived on a farm in Huntington. It was my grandfather's farm. And it was kind of a thing to do on Saturday night to come to town. So my dad would get the chores done, and he'd load the family up. And their wives had to try to get there as soon as they can to find a parking place. And my mother would probably go out and do some shopping, and we'd sit in the car and watch people go by.
Yes.
My dad always had comments about the people. I can't repeat all of them.
That's just as well, huh? Oh dear. Well, do you have any other stories you want to tell us before we wrap up?
No, except, you know, I was just so fortunate to get into the real estate business. And it's provided me with a good life and things beyond my ever expectations. And I remember one time I was at a doctor's office in the rain, and people looked at me and they said, "You're Bob King, aren't you?" Yeah. And then the man made a comment, he said, "Real estate's been good to you." And I said, "Yeah, that's good at real estate."
Yes.
Or try to.
Yes. And King Realty isn't going anyplace because
My son is there, my grandchildren are there, yeah.
yes, so it's in good hands.
Well, you never know, but they're doing very well.
Yes. Well, we thank you so much for coming and chatting with us today and letting us know what Wellington was like when you were younger, and we appreciate everything you've done, because I know throughout the years you've been on a lot of different committees and things in
Yeah.
Wellington.
I was the treasurer of just about everything at one time. Treasurer of Fair Board, treasurer of Alumni Association, treasurer of Chamber of Commerce, head of the United Appeal. So they had me doing a lot of things. And I was always eager to do it. And while I was on city council for 7 years, I was council president for 5 years.
And that's what makes a town strong, is to have not only business leaders, but to have community leaders. And we thank you very much. Thanks for being with us.
Hear,
And
hear.
thank you for watching.